Good day and welcome to Marking the Text. We will begin this activity by talking a little bit about why this strategy is so important for students. Marking the text is an essential reading activity, and this reading activity leads into great writing skills, okay? So the first thing to know is that there's 6 different parts to this activity, and primarily the teacher will begin this activity, or even a parent, by finding a great article of interest. What makes this a great tool for teachers and for parents is the fact that you can use articles for any subject area, and it fits into this criteria. I used the drinkable book this time, which is basically a science and also a geography opportunity for me to talk to kids about where impoverished countries are. And we get to geographically figure out the hardships of not having good water. In addition, this leads into scaffolding reading and writing activities that require collaboration that can be done online, and also then into timed writing activities, okay? So I found an article called The Drinkable Book. It's a science-based article, like I said, that also lends to some geographic findings as well. And there's also a little video that was documented by the same author on BBC that's on YouTube. So I suggest always that you find an article and a video. So my article, when I hand it out, this is the 2-page, the front here and the back. I have my 6 steps right here for students to follow. And I also make sure that once I fit in my article on the columns on the front and the back, that I leave room to the right so that students can always write in there for a different part of this activity for the in-depth reading portion. The first thing I like to do is make sure that the title can be turned into a focus or essential question. It just so happens that this article has a question. Okay, so is the drinkable book, can it save lives? All right, so we want to know this. So now everybody has a focus, and I usually lead this with a small discussion about what do you think this is? Well, where are impoverished countries? And then we can pull a map down and go from there a little bit, or discuss what makes a country impoverished. This is also a time for them to understand that there's new words, like impoverished is a new word to most students. For step 1, what I do is once we have our focus question, we go to step 2. And every indentation here, or every place there's a break in text, I have students write in the number. And the reason we do this is because when we're referencing paragraphs or we're referencing writings or text, I want everybody on the same place. So we will number the paragraphs 1 through 11 on here. And I do not number subtitles, only because the subtitles are usually bolded and students already have their attention drawn to them easily. The next step is skimming the article to replace words with synonyms. I do not use definitions. We use synonyms because it's an easier way for students to expand the vocabulary, and it also prevents choppy reading. I don't want students writing definitions in one page and trying to read another page and going back and forth. So we look for words like impoverished. I will circle that word, and then we will replace it with another word. In paragraph 1, profound would be a word that we would circle, and we will replace with another word. In the second paragraph, the term far-fetched, we would circle that phrase, and we would replace it with another synonym. And that way, when they're reading, they can go straight from the left to the right as a continuation, and no up and down, which is a cause for choppy reading. For step 3, now that we've replaced our words, we will go to step 4, which is read for knowledge. I usually read with them together, and I will replace the words that they have picked that are new to them. This way they can hear the new terms, they can replace them with synonyms that are more relatable to them or that make more sense to them. So now we've have a focus question, we've numbered our paragraphs, we have expanded our vocabulary by replacing new words with synonyms to prevent choppy reading. And we've done the first reading together. Okay, now the second reading, I usually have students go into groups of 3. And what I will do the second reading is they will read to themselves, or the group can read and take turns, like a little popcorn reading activity. And they will use a highlighter. So usually for this portion, we have 2 highlighters. One highlighter is used so that students can highlight all the evidence that is placed in the article that answers the focus question. It's a direct answer to the focus question. So that as they go through, they will highlight the information that the author has provided in the text that describes this drinkable book and how this drinkable book will save the lives of people. Now, this is the second reading. The third reading is where we would call oppositional or disagreeing or contrasting or looking for facts versus opinion. There's a variety of ways that this third reading could be used. For this one, I like in the 3-person groups to assign task. One person will summarize each paragraph by what they read by noting and paraphrasing in their own words using the new terms, using the new synonyms on the right. Another person will read through the article again, and they will connect how these issues connect to them or what's going on in our local area to compare and contrast, or personal experiences or reflections. And another person will ask questions directed at the text that are not answered by the author that still may be a primary focus for students if there's something they didn't understand. And also, why did the author use the phrase far-fetched? How is this helping the author stress the perspective or the understanding that he wanted his readers to have? So these are all great questions. So in this little third 3-people group, now students will discuss their reading afterwards. And this is what the second highlighter is for. And it is the collaboration that is needed for in-depth understanding. Right? Harvard actually used this process that for their coming out of high school, their freshmen, and they actually now have adapted this process for their freshman students, especially ESOL students that come in, so that they can be introduced to a reading format that actually is in place and actually prompts them to talk, prompts them to participate in discussions, and then allows for them, after a deeper understanding, to write excellent responses. So it is a proven writing format, okay? So now let's review real quick. We have a focus question. You can use this with students for discussions to predict or to establish prior knowledge. You number your paragraphs. You always circle them outside the text on the left, any place that there's an indentation or there's a break in text. You skim for new words and you replace those words with synonyms or phrases that students are unfamiliar with, and they get to pick them. You read 3 times. The first time is for a universal knowledge. The second time are for the facts that are provided by the author to support or answer the essential or focus question. The third time is from their positions, opposition, arguments, however you decide to use that third reading for their collaboration. Next is the notations. Excuse me, students are in their small group activity and now they've done their notations and they have their in-depth discussions. Next is answering questions. Now, this requires students, I use the video for this one because I want students to visualize as well as read and comprehend. So visualization goes a long ways, especially in the younger grades. And so now students have watched a video clip by the same author that was on YouTube, and we will begin answering questions. And part of the answering the questions is making sure students can expand, and also making sure that they have their citing. So for comprehension, I have students either use the paragraph that the information was found in or the author's name. You can see on the example here for, according to the text, what is the planet's most critical commodity? I tell them, reword the question into your answer. So in paragraph 3, I've cited the text. Water is defined as the planet's most critical commodity. I have used the content from the question to give a very thorough response. Same thing when I did with number 3, define bestseller as used in the article. The author, T. Maverick, uses the term bestseller in paragraph 12 to mean a success. Here I combine both, the paragraph and the author's name, as well as rewording the question or the statement to answer thoroughly. For the higher grades over here, I have where they have to use 2 or more complete sentences, and they have to do explanations. This is also a great time for teachers to ensure that students are using transition words correctly. So explain why the inventor has only produced a small amount of paper thus far. The inventor of the drinkable book, Dr. Teresa Dankovich, states that she only produced a small amount of books because the 2,000 sheets of paper in each book is put together by hand. Furthermore, Dankovich's project is costly and in dire need of financial support. So now I have 2 complete sentences. I followed the instructions and I've used a transition word, and I've taken the direct text information from the article and paraphrased it into my own words. Now we break down in for 2 elbow partners or 2 people for a small group discussion, and here is where it's another collaboration that can be done online. I have students then look at the compare and contrast. I like T-charts. We are comparing the video advantages to the disadvantages and the text to the advantages and disadvantages, and students will in each block here give me 3 supports for each column. So 3 advantages of watching the video versus the disadvantages. 3 advantages for the text versus the disadvantages. So now students have deepened their understanding of the content. They have developed inference. They've gathered evidence. We've expanded their vocabulary, and now we're going into the higher order thinking. Lastly, for the higher grades, I have created a prompt. And this is a timed writing activity. After Manzano's step 5, I'm assured that students should be able to respond to this prompt by creating a fundraiser that supports this project. If you do not like this project, then pick a fundraiser for a different world project. Be precise in your plan, the reasons to support this project or another precise project, and the societal purpose for this cause. Answer in well-developed essay responses, citing your evidence from the text. There are multiple places that you can get these articles from. For example, ReadWorks, Newsella, Smithsonian, Tween, Tribute, Current Event News, National Geographic, Science News for Students, and Time for Kids. They have them broken down by grade level and subject areas. Now you can build upon timed writing activities by teaching students speaking skills for speeches and finally doing presentations. Are there any questions? I hope you have enjoyed this activity and please use it. Thank you.